Only 2 days left in February, and each game left in the college basketball season now means so much more. A 4-day player showcase at the NFL Combine begins tomorrow, and Quinn Ewers is back to full health. Get ready because we're talking all of this out on the one and only College Crossfire.
All right, I'm going with classic, the 9-9-9. I'm going to do the 9 hot dogs, 9 beers, 9 innings challenge.
Need I say more? Need I say more? Need I say more at all?
From Costco specifically, I'm going to take 2 double chunk chocolate cookies, ice cream sandwich, but it's fried.
It's about to get hot in here, folks.
It's about to get hot. Good evening to everyone tuning in tonight. I'm your host, Robert Gonsolin, and we've got a very exciting show in store for you. It's our 5th show of the semester, and I don't know about y'all, but I'm experiencing a little deja vu because for the first time since December, I can say on this show that Quinn Ewers will be slinging the rock on live television this week. We'll get more into that in just a little bit, but as always, before we begin, I want to share that today's show is brought to you by Cat Metro, Austin's transit system. We connect you to work, school, play, and everywhere in between, so plan your ride to this weekend's basketball games at catmetro.org. So without further ado, we cannot begin any show without introducing our contestants, so let's jump right in. Leading things off, we have my fellow all-around Houston sports fan. He's told me he's a firm believer in Stephon Diggs returning to the Texans next season, so I hope that's true. It's our 2-time reigning winner, Mr. Ryan Swantkowski.
Robert G, thank you for that great intro. Brought the Stroud jersey back 3rd week in a row for some good luck, and we'll see if Diggs comes back. It will be a conversation we're going to have off air or maybe even on air. Who knows? Good to be back.
Who knows? But those Texans putting the pieces together, they just got to avoid the injuries.
Yes.
On second base, we have a lady making her first appearance of the semester on this show, a huge fan of Nashville sports, so the timing of tonight's episode is fitting because it's a great opportunity to talk about what her Titans may do this offseason regarding the quarterback position. Let's give it up for our very own Kendell Ungar.
Hello. First of all, I'm not a true Titans fan. I just worked for them. So, sorry, Will Levis. I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan. But yeah, I'm excited to be here for a show like you said and go against Ayan, and then I'm my former host from last year, so it's kind of fun to compete against him for the first time.
Well, Kendell, it's great to have you back on, as always. And in our 3rd spot tonight, we have another TSTV sports member making their Crossfire debut, another huge Dallas sports fan, and a social media ambassador for Fetty. Let's welcome on Ayan Masud.
What's up, Robbie G? Thank you for having me on.
It's great to have you on. Are you excited tonight?
Use my code, guys. INM. INM, all caps, guys.
There you have it. INM. All caps. Tonight's going to be an absolutely fun one, but before we jump in, it's important that we review the game's rules in case our viewers have never tuned in before. There will be 3 rounds with each one containing 3 questions. Points will be given out to who I believe has the best answer in order of 3 points, 2 points, and 1 point. Whoever has the most points at the end of the final round wins and gets to come back on for next week's show. However, there is a catch, and we must not forget that this catch is belonging to the 3rd and final round, better known as the rapid fire round. Double the points for this round, 6 points, 4 points, and 2 points. That's the order and the number of points I'm going to dish out in this last round. The contestants, they haven't been able to see or prepare for these questions whatsoever, so they're going to have to think on their feet and come up with their idea of what the best possible answer is. In the event that there's a tie, I'm going to have a backup question to ask at the very end of the game if it comes to that. Now that we've reviewed the rules, we can jump right into the game and get into the fire. All right, starting off, the regular season for the NCAA men's basketball season is coming to a close in just about a week. Soon after, we will have conference tournaments and then the beloved NCAA tournament. With that being said, there's a lot of basketball left to play to determine the top 4 seeds. Who will be your 4 seeds? entering the NCAA tournament, and why? Ryan, start this one off.
Yeah, my 4 number 1 seeds in the tournament. First one has got to be Texas. No, I'm just playing. I got you. Totally kidding. Yeah, all right. No, I'm not saying that. It's got to be Auburn will be my first seed. Best team in the nation, best team in the SEC. Johnny Broome is the best player in the SEC. They look basically unstoppable as far as college basketball goes. That's my first team. Second team is going to be the U of H. Why am I playing? The Cougars, thank you, from Houston. They're playing great ball lately. 7 straight wins. A few against, I think 3 of the last 4 have been against top 15 opponents. As you know, that defense is absolutely menacing to go up against. So U of H. Third team, even though they lost recently, is Florida. They get it done on both ends of the floor. Very powerful team out of the SEC as well. And my fourth team is not the Duke Blue Devils. I'm sorry. It's St. John's, who I talked about last week on the show. They will absolutely win the Big East tournament. They should not lose another game this season. They just beat UConn. They have all the momentum. The Big East is not great this year. Marquette's only ranked 21st, right behind them. Those are my 4.
The Cougs at 2, shout out H-Town, and the Johnnies at 4. Kendall?
Yeah, so obviously winding down the season here, not too many games left, so you have to go with Auburn. They've been the strongest team by far. They proved that against Alabama, so I have them definitely there. I do have the Duke Blue Devils. I don't think you can go against them. They're playing good basketball. They have a program to uphold. They're staying. I did go with Houston also. I think they're going to knock out Alabama. You have to look at Alabama's next few games. They're playing some hard competition, so I think Houston definitely knocks them out there. And then I also am going with Florida just because I think they can win out the rest of the games, and if they beat Alabama, they'll be just fine.
You know, that SEC tournament is going to be one that we are all going to have to keep our eyes on because so many of the best teams are playing. Ian, finish this one off.
Well, for my number 1 team for the NCAA tournament, I'm going to start off with Auburn. They've been really good. They beat Alabama a couple weeks ago, and they're going to play them again on Saturday, March 8th, I believe. And I think they're going to beat them, so they'll be number 1 for me. Number 2, I'm going to actually put Houston. You know, I'm not a big Houston guy. Being from Dallas, you know, I don't know about H-Town. The Astros are cheaters, so I don't really mess with them. But we'll put the Cougars at 2. But number 3, I actually do agree with Ryan. St. John's is pretty underrated in my opinion. They're like around a 3 right now for the tournament, but St. John's is doing really good. And then for my 4, I'm actually going to go with Tennessee. Their losses have been really tight. That game against Auburn was really up and down. And I don't really know about Florida. They've been massively inconsistent. I like their scheme, but I don't know if their players have the ability to do what they need.
You know, a lot of the SEC teams that all of y'all mentioned, you know, Auburn and Florida or Auburn and Tennessee. I'm going to have to give the 3 here to Kendall just because I believe, you know, I think Houston will get top 4, but I don't know if they're going to be as high as 2 like y'all said. And then the Johnnies, I don't know if St. John's is going to make the top 4 seeds. They're on a roll right now. It'd be cool to see that because we haven't seen that before in our recent memory for our lifetime. But Kendall the 3, Ryan the 2, Ian the 1. I just don't know if St. John's is going to go all the way to 3. All right, question 2. Sticking with men's college hoops here, on the opposite end of the bracket, there are a handful of bubble teams where every game on the remainder of their schedule is of crucial importance for winning. So, which current bubble team do you have just barely missing the field of 68? Kendall, start with this one.
Yeah, I wish I could be saying Texas, but I'm not going to be going that route. I'm actually going to look at OU missing the tournament right at the end. I think they have a hard schedule coming up. They're playing Kentucky tonight. They have another ranked opponent, and then they have Ole Miss, and the final game is Texas. So I think going into the final few games of this season, if they have 2 losses and they have that win against Ole Miss, it's going to come down to that Texas game, and I see Texas pulling it out. You know, it's a big rivalry. They're going to have the momentum. Texas is going to want to beat their biggest rival, Oklahoma, so I just see them knocking them out at that last game.
Oklahoma, they just have just a right amount of toughness left on their schedule, so it's going to be interesting how that will turn out. Ian.
So, as of right now, I believe last time I checked the score, Texas is down to Arkansas right now. The Georgia Bulldogs are coming to the 40 acres on Saturday, and they upset Florida. It was a pretty crazy game. Florida had a big lead, and they lost it, and then Georgia did their thing, ended up winning by about 7 points. I think that because Texas is down right now, the way their season has gone, I think that Texas will bounce back against Georgia and then knock them out of contention.
Texas did find that momentum a little bit last year when they beat OU in the very end of the season, allowing them to get in the tournament. My point being, they catch momentum at the end. Ryan.
Yeah, I got to go off what Kendall said as well. My team is OU to miss the tournament. I honestly don't know why they're even being in contention to make the tournament. Their biggest win was against 15th ranked Michigan. Best win all season long for them in December. It has been over 2 months since OU had a very notable team win. That being said, they're bottom 4 in the SEC. Like Kendall mentioned, they played 2 more teams in the top 20 in the last 4 games, along with a visit to Ole Miss and to UT. I expect them to, at best, go 1-3 there. Don't expect them to win a game in the SEC tournament. They should not be even in the last 4 contention. I think they missed the tournament completely.
Yeah, based off y'all's answers and how these teams have played all season, I do think OU, of the answers given, is going to be the team that does miss the tournament just barely. Ryan, I like your analysis the most. They just have too hard of a schedule coming up, and with the way that they've been playing so far, they don't have the resume to prove that they can win those games. Kendall, you'll get the 2. I am the 1. Great answers, though, right there, and anything could happen. Now moving on to women's college hoops. Texas had a big day on Monday. They were ranked the #1 team in the entire country for the first time in 21 years. And they defeated Georgia in the evening by 31 points. Taylor Jones came up big in this win with 17 points, taking some of the pressure to score away from other star players like Rory Harmon and Madison Booker. Regardless of your predictions about this team, is Texas currently the best all-around squad in women's basketball? If not, then who? Ayan?
Well, without a doubt, Texas women's basketball is the best team of college basketball right now. The way that Vic Schaefer has rallied the squad, it's been great. His leadership and Rory Harmon coming back from that ACL injury was really big for that team. She's a leader. She's kind of like a spark plug on the court. Madison Booker has been ultra reliable. And then their depth. They have a freshman named Brianna Preston who's doing really good, putting up pretty good averages on limited minutes. And then obviously Taylor Jones is doing good. Other pieces have been great. And I also think that a couple of these other teams like NC State, Notre Dame, they're losing some momentum, but I think Texas is on the come up.
You talk about that bench depth there with Brianna Preston. You know, it feels like near the end of the season, all these players are coming into full effect. Ryan?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're the best women's squad in the nation by far. You look at how many points they held Georgia to. That was Georgia's least scored game since 2015. 10 years was the last time Georgia scored that few of points in a game. UT's defense is what I'm trying to harp on here. That I believe they caused 25 turnovers in this past game as well, and they're 27-2. #1 in the SEC, and they've only given up over 70 points 4 times in those 29 games all season long. They're rocking a big win streak with some big wins over LSU, South Carolina. They're the best team in the nation by far.
Your strength of resume definitely proves them to be one of the best teams, like the most ranked highest team in the nation right now. Strength of resume. Kendall?
Yeah, I think everyone was shocked last week after UCLA went down to USC why Texas wasn't ranked #1 then, because you have to look at it. I believe it might have been Notre Dame. But anyway, last week they should have been ranked #1 also. But I think I'm glad to see finally them getting the recognition they deserve. You know, all year they've made a comeback. They do have 2 losses, but those were early on. Notre Dame was in December. It was an overtime loss. They came back and beat USC after losing to them. And I just think overall, you look at the strength of the roster. It's not just one player that's making a difference. You have Holly, you have Booker, you have Aaliyah Moore. You have all these players that are playing cohesively together. So it's just nice to see that they're finally getting the recognition that everyone has been thinking they should get since the start of 2025.
Recognition is key, especially, you know, because then it puts the whole world on notice about what this team can do and how teams can prepare against Texas. I'm going to give the 3 right here to Ayan, specifically because you talked about the bench depth with Brianna Preston, and you also talked about those starting players that are on the court when Preston's not there, and like you talked about Rory Harmon, Booker, Taylor Jones, and then Ryan, you talked about the dominance in defense, causing over 25 turnovers against Georgia the other night, and being able to cap off some huge wins against LSU recently, South Carolina, Kentucky. So 3 questions up, 3 questions down. That marks the end of our first round. But we've got plenty more to talk about. The NFL Combine takes place this week. Stick around because College Crossfire returns in just a sec. Welcome back into College Crossfire. You know, as the first round always happens for every episode, there's not really a huge margin between the scores, so I'll just read them off to you. Ryan Swantkowski leads by 1 with 7. Kendell Ungar right behind him with 6. And Ayan Masud right there with 5. Obviously, still anyone's game. But moving on into our second block, it's time to talk about some football now. The NFL Combine begins tomorrow, where the best NFL newcomers will perform to showcase their individual athletic ability. Which player in this week's event has the most to prove about themselves and needs to perform the best? Ayan, go for it.
Well, everybody's been talking about Quinn Ewers and how he has been playing with a torn oblique since about week 2 of the season. But I'm going to go a different route here. Ewers still might not be fully healthy. A tear like that is really odd. You can't get surgery like that. So it might take a little bit more time. Somebody that I think's draft stock can really go up is Jalen Milroe. His athletic prowess is easily going to show out at the NFL Combine, and has a decent arm. And last season, he didn't do as well as other people thought. He was projected higher, but I think Jalen Milroe could have a pretty great showing at the NFL Combine.
Jalen Milroe, didn't have the best Senior Bowl. He has a lot on his shoulders right now, and yeah, people are looking at him. Kendall?
Yeah, so I chose a running back for this question. I'm going to go take it to Cam Skattebo, sorry. But you heard his name a lot coming up in the playoffs. Obviously, he almost single-handedly beat Texas in the playoffs. His name come up. He's a good player, but you have to look at his size. He's a 5'11", 215-pound running back. He's going to struggle a little bit in the NFL, but I think if he shows up to the Combine, has a good 40 time, and can get in the middle of the pack with this star running back room that are going to the Combine, I think he'll be just fine. That his stock can go up, and coaches can say, hey, he's a good guy. He can make a difference from college to NFL, and he can prove that.
Cam Skattebo, great running back in college football. He kind of reached the top of the running back projections late into the season. Ryan?
I'm going with a wide receiver that I do not believe is talked about enough. Yes, I could go quarterback. All eyes are on quarterbacks 24/7. I'm going with wide receiver out of Miami, Xavier Restrepo. I got 2 hand claps going on in the crowd. Projected roughly 3rd-round pick right now. His biggest knack is his size. He's 5'9", 200 pounds. Outside of that, he is everything you want in a wide receiver 1. Quick, agile, back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons at Miami, and that first one, not this previous season, but the year before, Tyler Van Dyke was throwing him the ball. That dude is a bona fide scrub. And now you got Cam Ward throwing the ball to him. He had 11 touchdowns this year, 1,100 yards, a little bit more than that. Back-to-back 1,000-yard, over 1,000-yard seasons. This dude is quick, can get out of his routes, and is a bruiser as well. I got Xavier Restrepo moving up the ranks.
It's a very creative pick right there, and there's so many players going to the NFL Combine. You're not really sure who has the most weight on their shoulders or who will go and perform the best. I have to give the 3 right here to Ayan simply because I think Jalen Milroe has the most pressure. He had so much, not negative talk, but more so criticism on how he played at the Senior Bowl, and then him wanting to stay at quarterback and not switch positions. I think Milroe has a lot on his shoulders right now. Xavier Restrepo, I'll give you the 2 on this one because, playing with multiple quarterbacks, he was supposed to be one of the best receivers in college football this past season. He obviously didn't finish as one of the best, but he's still worthy of playing in the NFL. Then Cam Skattebo, I'll give you the 1 here. He's projected to go very high. I don't think he has a lot of pressure on him right now, though. But still, great answers. Yesterday, the sports world received a report that Texas's most recent starting quarterback, Quinn Ewers, actually suffered a torn oblique injury against Michigan, not UTSA, but is now fully recovered and ready to perform in this week's Combine. Having this information now, what are your thoughts on Coach Sarkisian's decision to continue playing Ewers throughout this past season, and should he have done anything differently given the outcome of the college football playoffs and the info we have now? Kendall.
Look, you got to believe in Sark and what he's doing. He knows his job. He's been doing it for years. He fully knows his quarterback better than anyone trying to say he doesn't. I think keeping Quinn Ewers for the season was completely the right call. Look what Texas did this season. Their only losses to Georgia in the regular season. They went back to the semifinals. They had a great season with Ewers. And obviously, Arch was waiting in the wings, and everyone was saying every time Quinn would mess up, put Arch in. But you have to look at Arch, and he has his time this upcoming season. He will have his moments, but Quinn was the experienced guy. And if Quinn and Sark knew each other the best, they had the relationship that if Quinn really could not play, he could have said to Sark, hey, I'm going to need a couple minutes just to be out for a few. So I don't think you need to overlook when exactly Quinn was hurt, because he played just fine, and Sark made the right decision with who he thought should be the starter.
They did make it to the semifinals. Ryan?
Yeah, I think Quinn Ewers over the past few years as a Longhorn from the media has been getting way too much hate, injury or not. Let me answer your question first. Sark made 1,000,000,000% the right decision, keeping Quinn Ewers as the quarterback and the starter, and Quinn Ewers should have been. I can guarantee you if Sark was trying to bench him, Quinn would talk to him immediately and say, I am the morale of this team. I am the quarterback of this SEC team now. He led them to the SEC championship in his first year on the injury. They won the Big 12 championship last year for the first time since 2009. This dude's been getting way too much hate. Should be way more, appreciated at the University of Texas and the outside media. And I firmly believe Sark made the right call. Quinn should have been the starter the whole time. He was the blood and the soul of the team.
Heart and soul, blood and soul. From that, he was the fire, the passion of the team. That carried them throughout the season. Ayan?
So I've kind of always said this, Quinn deserved to be the starter. He beat Alabama and started a new regime here in Texas, and he's from Texas. Listen, Arch wanted to be the Texas quarterback. He's from Louisiana. He has the Manning last name. Everybody wanted Manning to come in, be the guy this year, but Arch Manning knew that he wasn't going to do that. He knew that Quinn Ewers was the quarterback of this team, and he really was. You see Quinn do his thing, even when he's injured. That takes a lot of grit. It takes a lot of strength. While I disagree with some of Sark's play calling, I think Arch definitely could have ran the ball a lot more in that playoff run. Although the offensive line was beat up, I think that Arch could have used some more playing time, especially in the playoff run.
I'm going to have to give it a 3 right here to Kendell, given that she talks some more about, the hypothetical of what happened in the 2024 season. And now, while Quinn had a lot of huge wins in 2023 in the Big 12 championship in Alabama, like you said, we're talking about the 2024 season and Quinn Ewers being the guy where if he gets hurt, he could still play through some of those injuries. And like you said, Kendell, if Arch needs the time, or if Quinn needs the time to rest, it was there. Ayan, I have to give you the 2 on this one simply because you talked about, Arch maybe could have run a little bit more in the playoffs. I'm someone who I think Quinn, he was the starting quarterback, but maybe there are some opportunities now to prevent Quinn from getting injured even further and having Arch come in and be utilized just a little bit more. Still some great answers. Rounding it out onto our final question of the block. Big-time players are supposed to win big-time games and come up clutch when the moment calls for it. Last night, or 2 nights ago, the NBA's MVP favorite, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the Oklahoma City Thunder blew a 25-point lead in the 4th quarter to the Minnesota Timberwolves. This is not to say that SGA does not deserve the MVP award after this, as it's only 1 game. However, there are a ton of momentum shifts in the NBA regular season, and more losses like this could continue to affect his MVP candidacy. Look at the Houston Rockets with a 6-game losing streak back in January. How do you see the rest of the MVP race playing out, and who do you have ultimately winning? Ryan Swantkowski, take this one.
Yeah, you mentioned there's a lot of ups and downs in an NBA season and something like that. It's an 82-game season for a reason. 1 game will not shift the momentum of the Oklahoma City Thunder. It won't shift the momentum of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander as being the MVP. To me, he's the #1 MVP candidate right now. He will win the MVP. He's on the best team in the West, the #1. He's averaging the most points per game at 34.2 in the entire league. Shai has transformed his game tremendously since starting with the LA Clippers a while back now, and the NBA needs a new name at the front of the league here. I mean, Jokic should win it every year. He's won it 3 times already. NBA needs new blood. They're losing viewership. Shai Gilgeous not only deserves it, but needs to be that face moving forward with the NBA to bring in some new viewership, some younger viewership as well.
Talk about bringing on a new generation of players because the generation that we've all grown up with in this room: LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Chris Paul, Steph Curry. I could go on and on and on. Russell Westbrook. I think we had his jersey up here a second ago. They're getting much older now. There's a whole new generation of players. SGA could be the new face. Ayan.
Listen, a year ago, the Mavs were in playoff contention. Luka was doing great. We had just got Kyrie, and the Thunder were the 1 seed then too. What happened? The Mavs beat him. That was a great team. Listen, I'm not saying that the Thunder this year are fraudulent, but they're pretty close to what they were last year. SGA, his style of play allows him to get high percentage points, he's higher likely has a higher likely percentage to draw fouls, and I think that a lot of people don't give Nikola Jokic the respect he deserves. His numbers are insane for a center. He's doing things that nobody's ever seen, especially in this new era. I want to take a look at the different centers from the NBA's past, how they've played compared to what Jokic is doing now. His court vision is just different, you know what I'm saying? That's my guy. That's my go-to. Shout out Varun Prasad.
So, go with Nikola Jokic. This would be his 4th MVP. There you go, 4th MVP. All right, Kendall.
Yeah, well, I knew I was going last for this question, unfortunately, and Ian pretty much summed it up, but I went with Jokic as well. I think historically he is a great player, and he has the statistics, the stats to back it up. So I really think if you need a guy to look, he's always on that list. He always can be that guy. He has proved it over and over again, like Ian said, so there's no reason why he should not be on that MVP watch list.
Yeah, okay, so ultimately, I feel like you talk about a new face in the NBA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think that, those tough losses are going to come, but that's going to happen with everyone, and I think that a lot really needs to happen. This is a regular season award. This is not a postseason award. A lot's going to need to happen to take Shai out of it. Ryan, you're going to get the 3 on this one. Ian the 2. Kendall the 1. Okay. A great second round from our contestants. Our sports calendar continues to get more and more exciting. However, that'll close things out for this block. Just going over the scores here. We're going to have to do some math for that in a second because a lot changed, but stay tuned. We've got rapid fire coming up next, and you're not going to want to miss this one. We've got double the points for our questions in the last 3, so lots of things could happen. This is Crossfire. Welcome back into College Crossfire. We have a very close game right now. Mr. Ryan Swantkowski continues to lead by just 1 point with 13. Kendell Ungar is in the second seat, Kendell Ungar with 11. But right behind Ryan Swantkowski is Ayan Masud with 12. 13, 12, 11. That is our score. But now, we all know we're heading into the last round, rapid fire. Double the points, double the pressure. It's about to get hot. Let's get into our first question. All right, yesterday, Netflix's documentary-style golf show, Full Swing, released their 3rd season. The new episodes showcase the past year in the sport and follow some of the world's best golfers, including Rory McIlroy, Ludwig Berg, and Scotty Scheffler. If there were to be another sports documentary-style show, which one would you want to see be created next? Anyone can take the mic at any moment.
I'm going to go for a different one. Baseball doesn't get as much shine for the storytelling aspect. It's a slow game, but I think the shortstop, needs to get its own documentary in the MLB. You need to get all the best shortstops, just kind of like how they did the quarterback series, the wide receiver series. Shortstops are so versatile, and I feel like some of these shortstops are really different. So I would definitely like to see those guys get a spotlight.
You got it.
We're going here with a big topic that happened last weekend. Let's go to hockey here. Hockey is expanding. Yeah, some big, yeah. Big applause. We do live in the United States, and the United States last week had more viewership in U.S. vs. Canada Championship than the NBA All-Star Weekend. Really, anything can beat the NBA All-Star Weekend. That thing stinks. But give me hockey. I want to see the real rivalries behind these countries, not only in this event, the NHL, but also even like the Olympics. Hockey is growing, especially here in the United States as well. I want to see the behind the scenes. These dudes are nuts, like freak athletes, and can box really well too. So I think it'd be interesting.
Hockey, we all saw, Canada and U.S. play in the final last week. It's pretty fun to watch.
I should have not let him have the mic. I was going to say hockey, but it's rapid fire, so I'll switch it up. I'm going to go the lacrosse route. It's a huge northern sport. You have men's lacrosse. It's building in the South, first of all. But honestly, men's lacrosse is probably the most fun sport to watch. The aggression, the big deep holes with defensive plays. It will be nice to see lacrosse shift over in a documentary standpoint. I played girls lacrosse, so I saw it firsthand. I missed lacrosse when I moved from the north to the south. It did exist in the south, actually. There was a summer team. They're building it. It's just like hockey, not as big, but it will be. So I'm going to go lacrosse.
So we have two sports picked here, where you're kind of like you're scoring on the goal, different surfaces. One is turf or grass, the other is ice, and then we have the baseball route. All could be very interesting, and I think I'd watch all of them. All right, last night, WNBA superstar and one of, if not the best, women's basketball players of all time, Diana Taurasi, announced her retirement from the sport. Her list of accolades runs extremely long, including 3 WNBA titles, 2 finals MVPs, 3 NCAA basketball championships at UConn, and the 2004 Rookie of the Year, and the league's all-time scoring leader. If you were to have as long of a professional athletic career as Taurasi, which stat category across any sport would you most want to lead all time in, and why? Any sport, any stat, where do you want to lead all time in?
Good question. I like this.
Any sport?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody can go?
Yeah. You want to go?
I'll go.
All right. I'm thinking over here.
Listen, when the Cowboys were in their prime, they had this guy named Emmitt Smith, all right? He holds the rushing record. It's about 22,000 yards. A lot of people talked about Zeke. Yeah, Zeke is, kind of washed. I don't know about Zeke anymore. But if I had to break any record, I would have the most rushing yards in NFL history. I'm a bruiser.
I mean, you saw all the hype around Ashton Jeanty almost breaking the college record. Kendall?
I'm going to take the basketball route on this with all-time scorer in points, because imagine walking around saying, I had 1,500 points. I scored 1,500 points. I think that would be cool to see, and basketball is a fast-paced game. It's defense and offense, but just to be able to say, hey, I did this. I was able to score this much. I was dominant throughout my career. I stopped all my opponents. I think it would be nice.
Ryan?
Yeah, this is a good question. There's a lot of different avenues I'm wanting to go here. I don't know. I want to go baseball for some reason, but it's not going to be home runs. Like, home runs are great. The power hitters, it's awesome. I'm going to go with the underrated statistic of baseball that's hit by pitches. That is the best stat. If you are somebody that stands close to the plate, Anthony Rizzo is like this. He gets hit by pitches so many times. How awesome would it be to be like, oh, yeah, like, I have one of the best stats ever in MLB, and they're like, what, home runs, hits? It's like, no, hit by pitches. It means you are a bruiser. Similar to Ayan over there. You are a bruiser in a different way. And most hit by pitches.
I thought you were going to go down the stolen bases route, but even that one's pretty cool.
Nah.
All right. And to wrap things up tonight, question 3. As we inch closer and closer to March Madness, we begin to be introduced or reintroduced to college basketball programs with the most unique nicknames and mascots that will be a part of the giant bracket. The Texas Longhorns are pretty awesome, and you can't complain about iconic brands like the Georgia Bulldogs or the Miami Hurricanes. However, I want to hear from you what you think is the coolest or most random university mascot or nickname in collegiate athletics. I hope that video that just played over the screen helped y'all a little bit.
I wasn't watching.
I was thinking.
For some inspiration.
There are. They really are.
Trying to be original, but
I'm trying to think. This is a thinker. This is definitely a thinker question.
168 teams,
Yeah.
right? Something like that.
For some quick inspiration, think of upsets maybe. Maybe some upsets will spur some ideas of, oh, that was their team's nickname.
well, that kind of messed me up. But I'll just go with this. I'm gonna bring it to a personal, the Stanford Cardinal. I just think the little tree looks so cool. No other university has that. I remember when my brother was going there, everyone thought it was the bird, the Cardinals, and all his coaches would be like, no, it's the tree, the Cardinal tree. We are in California. So I just think it's a really cool mascot, and the little S with the tree, I just think it's really well known and it's cool.
Shout out to when you could, mascot mashup NCAA football, the video game, you can play as them with the quarterback or running back position. Ayan?
You know, I'm going to fall kind of off what Kendall said. This is another, elite academic school, but it's also Ivy. The Dartmouth Big Green. The trees, man, they're big, they're stocky. Hanover, Maine, New Hampshire, wherever it is. I have a friend who plays football up there. His dad was on the Falcons. Goose. He played guard on the Falcons, 63. Chris Chester. Shout out Sean Chester.
Wonder what Goose is saying.
The Dartmouth Big Green just made a visit to the city of Austin, Texas. Ryan Hopper and I were there on Sunday. A few of our other TSTV fellow members were also there at the games. Ryan Swantkowski.
This is one of my favorite questions you've ever asked, and I got to shout out some of my buddies because I think we've played this game before where we've literally just sat around and named the most random or coolest names ever, and so I'm kind of blanking. I'm going to go with a team that makes the NCAA tournament a decent amount, the Akron, I believe it's the Zips. Is it the Zips? The Akron Zips. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, it's just some kids from Akron. The Zips. I mean, that's just an awesome name. They got some cool uniforms, too. They're always in the tournament. You're like, you know what? This team might not even be that good, but they're the Zips. I got to go for the Zips.
All right. Those were all some great answers. But as you know, there can only be one winner. And I just want to say thanks again for everyone tuning in. This has been a fun show, a very close one. But before we announce them, can we get a round of applause, please?
Round of applause, a drum roll. You want a drum roll?
Oh, I'm sorry. A drum roll. I get a little confused. Our winner tonight, the new man, Mr. Ayan Masud.
Appreciate you, everybody. Debut W. I just want to thank my mom. I want to thank, all the executive producers out there. Robbie G put out some great content this week. The questions were fire. And shout out to my competitors. Y'all are cool too, I guess, but y'all lost.
Respect.
Thanks.
Ayan, congratulations. It was great having you on. Ryan and Kendall, it was great also having you on. Ryan, great job on your 3-week stint. Kendall, it was great having you on also. And we just want to say thanks to everyone in Master Control, Tyler Moss, Gabriel Silva, who helped this show come to life, all those who stepped up on our control room and here in the studio. Thank you to our viewers for making this show so fun to, cater to and just also give us an audience. That's going to be it for tonight. Signing off from the studio, this is College Crossfire. I'm your host, Robert Gonsolin, and have a great night.